done. Okay. In that ultimate analysis, I analyzed for the percentage of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. Okay. In yesterday's session, while I was discussing about the ultimate analysis, I introduced you how to find the percentage of carbon and hydrogen. What I said, weigh a sample of, okay, take finely powder it and put that in a combustion chamber. What does coal do? In combustion chamber, slowly it keeps burning. Okay, that means perfect oxidation will take place in that combustion chamber. What is combustion chamber? Nothing but an apparatus in which coal is freely burnt in the presence of air or oxygen. Okay, carbon that is present reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Hydrogen that is present in the coal sample will react with oxygen to form H2O. Okay, so what will happen next? Okay, I'll see to it that the carbon dioxide vapors are passed into a bulb which contains weighed amount of potassium hydroxide. What will happen? Carbon dioxide reacts with potassium hydroxide to form potassium carbonate. Okay, and what will happen in the process? The weight of the potassium hydroxide bulb increases. Now I'll measure the weight of the potassium hydroxide bulb. Okay, so the gain in weight of the potassium hydroxide bulb to the weight of the coal sample taken into 12 by 44 into 100 gives the percentage of carbon. Okay, now just I'll as a revision in ultimate analysis, what all you have taken down yesterday, it's there in your notes, but just a small revision here. So I'm finding the percentage of carbon. For that, what I have done, I've taken known weight of coal sample, okay, and a coal sample which is already weighed, okay. Then what I have done, I've taken that in a crucible and I've put that in a combustion chamber, okay. I put that in a combustion chamber. What is happening? I'm just burning that coal sample. What will happen? Because I'm talking about the carbon, okay, carbon reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Okay, that carbon dioxide is then passed into a bulb containing weighed potassium hydroxide pellets. Okay, I'll pass that carbon dioxide into a bulb containing weighed. I have this bulb which contains potassium hydroxide pellets. Okay, and I know the weight of the bulb. Okay, potassium hydroxide bulb weight I already know. Okay, what does carbon dioxide does with that potassium hydroxide? This carbon dioxide reacts with potassium hydroxide to form potassium carbonate, K2CO3. Okay, plus of course some amount of H2O is formed. What will happen? There is increase in the weight of this potassium hydroxide bulb. I'll get the weight of this bulb once again and I'll calculate the percentage of carbon using this formula. Please take it down. You write it little aside at the bottom. Percentage of carbon is equal to gain in weight of potassium hydroxide bulk divided by weight of the coal sample taken into 12 divided by 44 into 100. Okay, what is the 12 there? Weight of carbon. Okay, molecular weight of carbon. 44 is molecular weight of carbon dioxide because I am calculating the percentage into 100. Okay, that's the formula. Please write it down. Okay. Now I have moved to the next operation of finding the percentage of hydrogen. Okay. Actually, both these steps are done at a go. Okay. Okay. So what will happen now? Now, again, it is percentage of hydrogen. Yesterday, we have studied already this. So let me once again do a small recapitulation. So what I have done, I wanted to find the percentage of hydrogen. Again, I'll take the same old coal sample, heat it in a combustion chamber. The hydrogen that is present reacts with the atmospheric oxygen. Okay, so 2H2 plus half O2, for example, gives H2O. Okay, this H2O is in the vapor form. Okay, so these H2O vapors are forced into a bulb containing known weight of calcium chloride. Then I'll pass it into a bulb, okay, which contains anhydrous calcium chloride. Okay, now that is the structure of calcium chloride. Okay, it will be like small balls. Okay, white color and known weight. I have already measured its weight. Okay, what will happen? H2O in the presence of calcium chloride, which is anhydrous, will hydrate the salt. What will happen? Calcium chloride heptahydrate is formed in the process. Okay, there is increase in the weight of the bulb once again. I'll get the weight of the bulb, okay, and find the percentage of hydrogen. Hope you have understood. So what I have done, I've taken hydrogen, weighing, getting the percentage of hydrogen. For that, on putting the coal sample in the combustion chamber, water vapor is formed or moisture, okay, which is bulbed into a bulb of known weight of anhydrous calcium chloride. Okay, calcium chloride forms hydrated salt, which is calcium chloride heptahydrate. Okay, then the percentage of hydrogen is calculated using the formula. Please do write down. Percentage of hydrogen is equal to gain in weight of calcium chloride bulb by weight of the coal sample taken into 2 by 18 into 100, where 2 is the molecular weight of H2 and H2O weight is 8. Hence, is the difference. Okay. If you are writing the formulae, please do take it down at one place. These are the formulae that are to be documented. Take down the formulae, please. Okay, then I'll start explaining how to find the percentage of nitrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. Okay, please jot down this formulae at one place. Easy, interesting, and I'd say easy to revise. Okay. Okay. Now I'll consider that you have jot down the formulae at one place, easy to remember for your examination. So is the discussion. Okay. Let me take a snap of this recorded. I hope at least Uh, many of you are writing notes religiously because I've told you. Uh, Apart from Neeraj's notes, I need to take your notes Xerox as a document. Okay. So it's the discussion. Okay. So now I'll start explaining about the okay. Here, the procedure is very simple. That's a very crude diagram of the gel doll flask. Okay. There is I take 1 gram of coal sample. Okay. I exactly weigh powder 1 gram of coal sample, that is 1000 milligrams. Okay. Of the coal sample, and I'll put that in this gel doll flask. What's this? Why the percentage of nitrogen by gel dolls method is very famous is the name is because of the flask. This probably you might have studied in your intermediate. Hope you remember. Got it? Did you ever study in your intermediate? This one? Yes or no? Okay. So what I'll do in this gel doll flask, sort of a very flask, round bottom flask, I'll take sulfuric acid, concentrated sulfuric acid in this gel doll flask. Okay. Then I'll put 1 gram of the coal sample. Okay. Then I'll start heating this with the Bunsen burner. Okay. So what will happen in the coal sample? The nitrogen that is present will quickly react with the sulfuric acid to form ammonium sulfate. Okay. This process is done in the presence of catalysts like potassium sulfate and copper sulfate to enhance the activity. I'm writing the equation. Okay. So what I have done, I've taken 1 gram of powdered coal sample and I've put that in the gel doll flask containing concentrated sulfuric acid. Okay. What will happen if I'm boiling this entire mixture? Ammonium sulfate is formed. This is done in the presence of catalysts like potassium sulfate plus copper sulfate would act as catalyst. Okay. So what is the compound formed in turn is ammonium sulfate. Okay. NH4 taken twice SO4. Okay. Ammonium sulfate is the compound form. Okay. This heating of coal sample in the sulfuric acid is only to extract nitrogen that is present in the coal as ammonium sulfate. Okay. Again, this is a salt. So I cannot do estimations taking this salt. So what I'll do, I'll again react this with sodium hydroxide to liberate ammonia gas. Okay. What I'll do, I'll take this ammonium sulfate, salt, and I'll make it react with sodium hydroxide. Okay. What will happen? It will liberate ammonia gas. Okay. It will form NH3, ammonia gas, which is important for me. Along with that, it will form sodium sulfate. Along with that, it will form sodium sulfate plus water. Let me take the balanced equation for time saving. 2NaOH, okay, plus 2 ammonia plus 2H2O is the balanced equation. Okay, and the ammonia gas that is coming out is now bubbled into. Okay, ammonia gas is now bubbled into a conical flask which is containing a large excess of acid. Okay, particularly I'll take HCl for convenience. Okay, I'm passing that liberated ammonia gas into a conical flask, for example, containing 1 liter of HCl, dilute HCl. Okay, ammonia reacts with HCl to form ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, after realizing that there is no more ammonia gas that is being formed, I'll stop the bubbling into the conical flask containing or RP flask containing HCl. Okay. Then what I'll do, I'll take the rest part of the acid and do the titration with the base. Though that base is again NaOH, whose concentration I already know. Okay. This is how I'll find the percentage of nitrogen. Okay. I'll repeat it once again. Now target enti finding the concentration of nitrogen. ఓకే దానికి ఏ మెథడ్ యూస్ చేస్తామంటే జెల్దాల్స్ మెథడ్ యూస్ చేస్తాం. ఎందుకు ఆ పేరు అంటే ఆ స్పెషల్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ బెంట్ నెక్ ఉన్న రౌండ్ బాటమ్ ఫ్లాస్క్ వలన. సరే, టు స్టార్ట్ ద ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్ వాట్ ఐ విల్ డూ, ఐ విల్ టేక్ ఫస్ట్ సల్ఫ్యూరిక్ యాసిడ్, గుడ్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ సల్ఫ్యూరిక్ యాసిడ్, కాన్సన్ట్రేటెడ్ సల్ఫ్యూరిక్ యాసిడ్ తీసుకుని I'll add exactly 1 gram of my coal sample under consideration. Okay, and then I'll start heating it. What will happen? Nitrogen that is present in the coal sample will react with sulfuric acid to form ammonium sulfate. Now that reaction is catalyzed by potassium sulfate and copper sulfate. Okay, now the formed ammonium sulfate can't be estimated just like that. ఎందుకు హీటింగ్ అంటే జస్ట్ నైట్రోజన్ ఏదైతే ఉందో కోల్ శాంపుల్లో దాని మొత్తాన్ని ఒక తీసేయడానికి బయటికి ఫర్ మై అనాలిసిస్. సరే, నెక్స్ట్ వాట్ ఐల్ డూ, ఐల్ టేక్ దట్ సల్ఫ్యూరిక్ అమ్మోనియం సల్ఫేట్ సాల్ట్ అండ్ ఐల్ రియాక్ట్ ఇట్ విత్ NaOH. దిస్ NaOH is base, okay, and I know the concentration of that NaOH solution already. Okay, such solutions are called as link or standardized solutions, which I already discussed in your water chemistry topics. Okay, fine. Now that NaOH reacted with ammonium sulfate to liberate ammonia gas. That is what exactly I want. Okay, along with that, water and sodium sulfate are the byproducts that are formed. The formed ammonia gas is passed into again a round bottomed flask or a conical flask containing 1 liter of HCl. What will happen? Ammonia, being basic in nature, reacts with HCl to form ammonium chloride. This is a neutralization reaction. Fine. I'll keep the apparatus set up like that till that time, till no more ammonia enters into the reaction medium or HCl solution. Now, when there is no more ammonia liberation, the reaction will stop. Okay. Now, what will happen? I have taken large excess of HCl. Okay. Some amount of HCl might have reacted with ammonia to form ammonium chloride, but there is some amount of HCl which might not have reacted with ammonia. So what I'll do, I'll react that HCl, okay, with NaOH. Again, I'll do the acid base titration to check how much amount of unused HCl is present, and hence indirectly I'll calculate the ammonia gas liberated. Okay, and I'll use this formula. Percentage of nitrogen is equal to volume of the acid used into normality divided by weight of the coal sample taken into 14 divided by 1000 into 100. 1000 ante weight. Sare? Okay. So em cheyali pratisari enduku acid base titration kada, N1V1 is equal to N2V2 ade formula. Sare? So volume of the acid and the normality of the acid N1V1. Okay, N2V2 percentage of nitrogen ni calculate cheyadaniki into 14, which is the molecular weight of nitrogen, into 100 for percentage divided by 1000. That's the volume. Okay, divided by weight of the whole sample taken. Okay, This is the formula to find the percentage of nitrogen. Okay. Now, any doubts, please raise your hands. Important. Jaldal's method. It's already studied in your intermediate. Fine. Now, the last one is finding the percentage of sulfur. Okay. So, it's again a very easy one. So, how to find the percentage of sulfur? Percentage of sulfur is measured by a simple technique, by precipitating barium sulfate. Okay. So what I do, I'll take a known weight of coal sample like 1 gram or 2 grams, whatever. Generally 1 gram is taken. Okay. What I'll do, I'll just powder that coal, put it in a crucible, and put that in warm calorimeter. Okay. Again, it is simple oxidation. Okay. Sulfur reacts with, present in the coal sample, reacts with oxygen, okay, to form sulfur dioxide, which on further oxidation in the presence of O2, large excess, will form sulfate ion. Okay. These sulfate ions which are formed are precipitated by reacting with barium chloride. Okay. What will happen? Barium sulfate gets precipitated out as PPT. Yellowish color PPT would be there, barium sulfate, and that gets precipitated out. Okay. And what I'll do, I'll wash that barium sulfate salt. Okay. Filter it, dry it, and I'll get the weight of the barium sulfate salt. Okay. And then the percentage of sulfur is calculated by taking the formula, weight of the barium sulfate divided by weight of the coal sample taken into 32. That is the molecular weight of S sulfur. 233 is the molecular weight of barium sulfate. Okay. 32 by 233 into 100. That's the formula used for finding the percentage of sulfur. Em cheppanu? Sulfur composition కనుక్కోవడం ఏంటి? Easy. ఏదైతే కోల్ శాంపిల్ తీసుకున్నానో దానిని క్రూసిబుల్ లో తీసుకుని ఐ పుట్ దట్ ఇన్ వార్మ్ క్యాలరీమీటర్. ఏం చేస్తుంది? హీటింగ్ ఇన్ ద ప్రెసెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎయిర్ ఆర్ ఆక్సిజన్ అవుతుంది. సల్ఫర్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఫస్ట్ సల్ఫర్ డైఆక్సైడ్ కింద కన్వర్ట్ చేసి డిఫరెంట్ ఆక్సైడ్స్ ఆఫ్ సల్ఫర్ కన్వర్ట్ అయ్యి సల్ఫేట్ అయాన్స్ ఫామ్ అవుతాయి ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద సెషన్. ఓకే. ఆ సల్ఫేట్ అయాన్స్ ఏవైతే ఫామ్ అయ్యాయో అవి బేరియం క్లోరైడ్ తో రియాక్ట్ చేసి బేరియం సల్ఫేట్ సాల్ట్ కింద ప్రెసిపిటేట్ చేస్తాం. సరే, ఆ బేరియం సల్ఫేట్ సాల్ట్ ని ఫిల్టర్ చేసి డ్రై చేసి దాని వెయిట్ కనుక్కుంటాం. కనుక్కుని పర్సంటేజ్ ఆఫ్ సల్ఫర్ ని using this formula I'll calculate. Percentage of sulfur is equal to weight of the barium sulfate by weight of the coal sample taken into 32 by 233 into 100. A formula use chesi I'll measure the percentage of sulfur. Last one would be getting the percentage of oxygen. Okay, it's again by indirect method. 100 minus the sum total percentage of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen and sulfur gives the percentage of oxygen. Okay, that's about the ultimate analysis of coal. Okay, right. The last few points, significance. That's very, very important. Significance. So, what is your guess? Okay, how does carbon supports combustion and increases the calorific value or not? What? 71? 71 is not there. 72? 73? 74? 75? 76? 77?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon. Now tell me, how about the percentage of carbon? Does carbon supports combustion or not? Carbon percentage unte combustion calorific values support chestundo cheda carbon?
It supports combustion, ma'am.
Yes, it supports some combustion and increases the calorific value.
Calorific.
So what is the significance? Greater the percentage of carbon, greater is the
Greater is the
calorific
calorific.
value. Okay, good. Now tell me about hydrogen. Okay, I'll tell. I'll not. Can't waste time. Okay,
Ma'am, even
but that's a
hydrogen
good.
supports combustion.
Nana,
Even hydrogen
hydrogen
supports combustion.
supports combustion. What happened to this Sumit and all? They gave presentation and they are absent now in the class. They have become grown-ups now, old people. Till that time you are young and energetic like you all who are present in the class. You are like you are still students. You are really nice. Those people who are out of the class are out of the frame now. Okay. Those have at least given the presentation. I expect them to be here. Okay. So I'll get back. Correct. Percentage of hydrogen is actually directly proportional. Why? Hydrogen supports combustion and increases calorific value, but not always. Why? Hydrogen is not all hydrogen is available for combustion. There is certain amount of hydrogen that is already present in the fuel as combined hydrogen. Okay, what will happen? If hydrogen is present in a fuel sample, okay, some amount of hydrogen which is in the moisture content also comes out during this combustion process. So that amount of hydrogen which is present in the fuel but does not support combustion or calorific value is called as fixed hydrogen. Okay, that part of hydrogen is present as combined hydrogen. Okay, and hence is the discussion. So it supports combustion, increases the calorific value, but not 100%. Okay, that's about the percentage of hydrogen. How about nitrogen? Nitrogen is one element which is neutral. It neither supports combustion or increases the calorific value nor decreases. Okay, so this presence of nitrogen does not affect the calorific value and it does not participate actively during the combustion process. It is supposed to be an inert element that is present in the whole sample. So nitrogen does not affect the calorific value. Okay, that's the next one. And how about sulfur? Sulfur supports combustion. Sulfur supports sulfur supports combustion, but what will happen? The oxidation products like sulfur dioxide or sulfur trioxide that are formed after combustion are environmentally not safe, and the oxides of sulfur will quickly affect the instruments or the apparatus in usage. Okay, and hence though sulfur supports combustion and increases the calorific value, still it is not supposed to be a benign element to be present in a coal sample or any fuel. Why? The oxidized products of this element are affecting the instruments or the machinery and are not supposed to be environmentally safe compounds, and hence is the discussion. The last but one is the oxygen. What's your opinion? Does presence of oxygen increases the calorific value? If your guess is right, then you're wrong. Oxygen actually, if already present in the fuel, does not support combustion. Why? Because oxygen is always available in the fuel as H2O. So what oxygen you are getting in the fuel is the combined oxygen with hydrogen as moisture. Okay, but not the free oxygen that supports combustion. What you'll be surprised is the free oxygen always comes from the air, which is actually pumped into the apparatus. Okay, so that is about the significance of the various elements. In Japan, carbon supports combustion and increases the calorific value, directly proportional. Hydrogen also supports combustion and increases the calorific value, but not all amount of hydrogen is available. Some amount of hydrogen is present in the fuel as moisture. It's combined hydrogen and it decreases the calorific value. But in general, hydrogen supports combustion and increases the calorific value. Nitrogen is one element which which is neutral and it it does not increase or decrease the calorific value. So presence of nitrogen does not affect the calorific value of the fuel. And the next one is sulfur. Sulfur is one element which supports combustion and calorific value, but its presence in the fuel is not favorable. Why? Sulfur oxides, sulfur dioxide or trioxides, which are formed after combustion, will affect the apparatus or instruments or the machinery, okay, under utility. And these oxides of sulfur are environmentally very hazardous, and hence we don't encourage the presence of sulfur, okay, in the fuel sample. Oxygen that is present is actually combined oxygen, okay, which is coming out due to H2O or moisture. So free oxygen is never present in the fuel, okay. It is always present in the combined state with hydrogen as moisture, which decreases the calorific value as it does not support combustion, and hence is the discussion. That is about the significance of the ultimate analysis. Okay, this concludes my discussion on the solid fuels. So, right, did you all write what all I was saying? Okay, now did you write the significance of ultimate analysis? Fine. Yes or no? Please tell me. You should be active. If not, I'll just have to move to the next one. Okay. Now, listen, I'll conclude the solid fuels. So what are the advantages of solid fuels, in particularly coal using as a fuel? Okay, when coal is used as a fuel, first thing is it is very cheap. Okay, transportation and storage of coal is very easy. Okay, and it is not a flammable compound, and hence there are no fire hazards when I'm using coal as a fuel. Okay, so what are the things? Advantages of coal as a fuel? Cheap, it is cheap, easy transportation, easy storage, okay, and because it has considerate ignition temperature, there are no fire hazards using coal as a fuel or for its storage as well. Okay, but what are the limitations? Okay, the volatile matter content, the ash content decrease the calorific value of coal. Burning coal as a fuel has very less fuel efficiency. Okay, one more point is that we cannot regulate the burning of coal. Just like in our houses, what we do, we use our gas stoves. Okay, there is a regulator for our stove. We can put the stove in high or sim mode. Okay, but can we do with that of coal? No, it is not possible. Okay, I cannot once if I start burning the coal, I can't say I want to keep the fire down or increase the fire when at my convenience. It is not possible here. Okay, that's the limitation of coal being used as a fuel. Okay, but otherwise, what is the significance? Coal is extensively used in thermal power plants, okay, in metallurgical operations, and also for domestic applications. Okay, so this is about the coal as a solid fuel. Okay, you understood? Now, that concludes my discussion on coal. Now, I shall take the attendance. But before I start taking the attendance, I want to push myself giving you an introduction to liquid fuels. What you have in your syllabus is crude oil or petroleum. So I want to play few videos for you all, which type the introduction to liquid fuels, that is crude oil or petroleum. Okay, its extraction, availability, how it is being done, and how it is being purified. Okay, that's what is the next topic. Write the heading: liquid fuel, crude oil or petroleum. Liquid fuel, crude oil or petroleum. I shall take the attendance. Okay, in between, please just first start looking into the videos that I have compiled from the net. Okay, liquid fuel. What you have in your syllabus is crude oil or petroleum. Crude oil or petroleum. Okay. Hope you are jotting these headings down. Okay. I'll explain everything tomorrow as a summary, but the explanation part is done with the help of videos. So this is a conventional non-renewable fuel. Conventional non-renewable fuel. But extensively used for all our vehicles. It dictates the automobile industry. In fact, even our mobility. Okay. So here we go. Please write down. I thank my colleague and friend, Mr. V. Vamshi Kumar sir. He is helping me to present these videos. These videos I've collected from the net itself. Okay. And right now, in some 2 or 3 minutes time, the video will be played. Please hold on. Okay. And why the strength is increasing for attendance? Kids, don't worry. You are great people. No one will for your attendance. But you should feel sorry about your energy levels that you are not still in engineering material. Those are present, no comments. Those are absent, obviously they won't know. So there's no point saying anything right now. Okay, fine. So now let me take the attendance followed by the videos. It will take some 10 minutes time, 10 max 15 minutes time, not more than that. If more than that also you are at leisure, just listen. But still it is a class. Kids, please remind yourself. Roll number 61.
Present, ma'am.
Hey, you want to sing a song?
Actually, I can't
Actually,
sing, ma'am.
you have become